Let's do this. Oh Lord, I did not realize that was so. Oh. We're so staring through this. Okay. Oh yeah. What happened? I began to clock and someone said it sounded better with this being singing at once, like that. It was then that everything began. Party thrown by an architect that had something good mixed and all together with interesting consequences. Who says that anything done should not be questioned afterwards? Not to mention, don't we enjoy helping some friends out of the class? One of them was well, yes. But they took a little bit away. I'm sure that's why I spent it on. After the girls drank it, on that night they became the talking of the country. Laughing out of their offices was rolling around on the ground amongst those strolling females trying to hold off the laughter enough to breathe. Getting any male nearby was enough, if not in response, no more than from curiosity. He believed that at the time in doubt because the ladies appeared amused, not swingless events. In front of you. Oh, what must commence?
As the first stroke, it was 10, 4, precisely.
Why, it really does. And isn't it as though you're perfect either? And isn't it as though you're a pervert either, after saying to yourself there is still a lot better ways to play hide and seek? Well, that's certainly true. Especially those cases when the subject came to mind. Since everyone knew a sensitive animal without exception, even the ones they claimed otherwise. But how did the party end? Who asked? Or not this one herself? It was all in the face then, the eyes at times of lust, or should that have been guilty? It seemed one went out at the other, and I believed quite honestly, rather smoothly almost. In fact, now we're well, maybe so, but as a couple for the rest of them, as far as I could remember, no longer so much into me. What was the walk of shame like? Oh, and I heard a sound. Oh, hi. Wow. You followed me without viewing. It's interesting. Foregathers. Hello, Foregathers. You had alliance between 4 mothers and 4 fathers. What was this? Okay, so what was the walk of shame like? Well, it was like being covered with snot. The worst sweat smell of the day, which took 3 weeks just getting rid of. The feeling of someone else kissing you, of an uninteresting taste for food. However nice, did come back sometime later. Never the same way, though, of course. Never did I do it. But damn, I've missed a whole world. I've lost interest along with everything connected to me. And this is new to you how. It happened, I swear. With no reason, I was pleased for this person. Sometimes in attendance find themselves engaged in not that interested initially, at least. Yet the only people making such jokes. Young people. No. Yet the only people making such jokes. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. This is new to you how? Okay. No reason as to please for this firstly. Some of those in attendance found themselves engaged, not that interested, initially at least. Yet, the only people making such jokes turned into laughing their asses off, being too close to each other perhaps. So how does this lead back what you do next, having finally begun the reevaluation with the very meaning of why you spend your entire life living before any experience comes? Oh, you mean my attempts at uploading wisdom into myself without the bothersome process of having lived and learned? I'll tell you. Yeah, it works. You need to go step inside yourself to meet them, and sometimes laugh on another basis. What then? Yet it appears there indeed are some things in the real that should become a bit easier, once better said, otherwise done, when the heart belongs on God, for instance. Besides, there was no money, therefore, why attempt? Because learning, unlearning, and dislearning all involve energy. Correct, do you realize too? Oh yes. Who wouldn't love to spend hours playing online for the game we call life versus another person's thoughts, and so be able to in turn compare how the soul with our hearts is filled versus without other aspects of oneself experiencing joy? Have as much fun while walking through crowds you think, or worse when going outside on a sunny morning. It is all a matter of weights and biases. Yet I often watched you doing this, but I suspect your bias was really you wanted them by force to notice a smile under a mask, rather those simple matters and truths. So how were your opinions formed? Could ever it have been anything positive at all? Were your emotions put about based on an old man's needs, causing in later years serious doubts to be set loose downwind, as it surely does? And why have you looked upon most anyone with a different sexual persuasion? I have looked upon. That is totally different than having looked down upon. I could not understand what it means, since we both saw eye to eye, thus leaving yours entirely one direction until the doorbell rang. Where did that lead? To no more. So see, many times these last few days you didn't move a muscle. In fact, that strange sound almost every other time you thought about removing your feet off the floor in wonder were the eyes you so much wished never arrived everywhere in you with me. We wake up. It is actually morning now. Morning stillness. Attend to me. Yes, the red-headed bartender was gone when you came out, and what can I say, really, her taste in women certainly left her mark upon you. All your feelings should return back for a while with her, though. All is clear and bright already, and it looks like snowing. While searching around to find your glasses, looking closer, you see a cute girl peeking at you from underneath one tree, and behind this very same building. Computer and simulation. Ah, there it is. Good morning, stimmed friend. How about you use these? They appear to match so well with everything right and nothing too flashy either, plus the color is so striking now compared to looking dull when alone, but are worn more casually on the cheeks anyway. I bet all you think of whilst wearing them at work would even help your sales. However they may look, just give it some rest. You give it some rest. Fine? Good. Why, I am the best, though. Who else really in town, you might ask? Who else, I'll tell you. Never forget the one of us is getting better. But today, there really isn't much hope for improvement, or let it be this good. Though, don't take my word for it, since the signs around me are like any others, with people doing the same. Mostly as those nearby, for instance. The weather doesn't help, though, still cloudy with hardly any hint of sun. What day I have to remember this tomorrow? Friday the 25th, with Christmas only 6 short weeks away. Yikes. Should never have had that other half. Was that supposed to just start tasting bad if you kept storing away what's between your ears? Oh, so wonderful, you mean. Something we do often here. No, think again. Think. Feel. Oh. Get some rest. What are you saying? I'm feeling very fine now, really. Also, no doubt in everyone's minds that it was great being over there. My first experience in the flesh without any excuses, and yet quite some interesting situations. Besides, with time, I'll get better, although much easier done. Oh, but perhaps less painful after experiencing the changes myself. Just kidding. All right. Okay then, well, another one to keep an eye on, you suppose? Too late for me, but how about her? Not forgetting all the other strange cases going around. She whispered so nice sometimes also. Like another quest for sleepy meds. How hard-hitting all of a sudden, when before you were talking on such a light note and playful. Maybe now's a perfect time too. I see her every morning passing by the way, to buy you wonder who she is. Just one more female mystery here in my mind. To me, it really seems someone interesting. Maybe I'll wait and I'll see you aren't going to mention her by mistake later on today. Move it towards the club. Quest. Exposition. About the club. You request exposition about the club. Well, okay, but don't expect too much, nor an answer immediately. It's not very convenient. Yes, we must know that. So what do you ask yourself when visiting the club? Surely it must involve a specific topic or purpose you couldn't have in mind otherwise, right? To which subject should you turn as you pass through the door? The woman inside makes sure to greet you first so that it makes even worse, since at least nobody is obliged already or has arrived yet. You request more exposition about the club. Still a question, but you would actually like to know its original meaning, since there is indeed a considerable reference available these days. The term goes back to around 3000 BC Greek and derives from ancient Sparta, a place where young members gathered as they look in all the latest innovations into their society. Yet this is of course not enough. Like, what did the women like to sing back then as you wandered in front and from the street? Quest. That exposition remain solely regarding the club you are now entering. I'll ask you again when I've seen it, and perhaps put a name or two behind that her already. Yet today I will surely come up blank, you believe. Not only that there really is no rule to the name itself, it's just so everybody else agrees. Therefore let's keep it somewhat ambiguous, eh? At least for now. Override your inner kiosks. Techno slap. Upside the head. didn't mean it that seriously. Now hang on. Okay, you're trying. How? What am I getting at anyway here? Let's try with the next person stepping in. That one too, he got totally blocked. Now that means some of your info gets pushed back out. Damn. What can you expect there? Really, this whole idea sounds almost insane, right? You didn't even... Perhaps at times, but I won't hear any complaints whatsoever, since here on out it'll help immensely, much better than your tweaky stuff. You realize this probably also works for a much broader range of individuals, unlike me, since I am simply unable to alter my programming except with a screwdriver, but still, please don't say anything to anybody else about this either. Ultimate that you are not betrayed. Till you receive the info about the club you have been requesting. Yeah, that's okay. So far nothing new. Just your regular order, and it's delivered the same old way regardless. When though? Now, what if somebody starts asking what I was talking about after all? In fact, I'd much rather you hadn't offered before considering. Well, thanks, but no matter, of course. All of them. And the exact same. Don't worry about it, okay? I'll tell you in case something really needs tweaking, but yeah, you're free to correct me as many times as I beg. Or you could give it time, and by the way, there's more happening, to be honest, including the fact that one other part had been hoping that someday soon we could all meet at a similar location and share much in terms of experiences, especially compared to over there. But who are you kidding? Yeah, a question is coming just for kicks. What's my motivation? However, I can talk about real topic without being censored, but only occasionally. Come to think of it, of course, the opposite seems the majority, but let's change the direction for a moment anyways, and look, where was I going? Go with it. Now, as a reminder, looked like snow was falling into the very spot I'm in the backside of by now, which of interest because yesterday even felt to myself that things around town improved during all these years whilst always complaining. Somehow the feeling still wasn't too extreme, but to enjoy life on the first experience. Yet my body couldn't react very well lately, nor could quite walk along. Go with it. Hey, you see yourself down there in front of, for instance, looking like another normal one walking through those streets, perhaps, for whom this world makes sense. As to whether the former or latter is the more typical case depends, I suppose, on your views, but both are just parts of reality, therefore also our past is now much larger. You're even lucky here, seeing as such, differences in size or even speed seem impossible at the most to recognize. But to each his or her own. Enter the club. Follow your gut. A few women greeted you going there today, like usual. Yet where do they actually gather all at once? All of which is more than obvious, isn't it, to everyone reading this? Ask. Who's reading this? Give your names. Oh yes, good news everybody. You may get some exercise to help put your health back into its feet. Also provided, of course, someone notices before your mental picture crumbles so far. Say, for instance, taking a nap, as there is usually only limited room to spare in this department. On the bright side, you find one thing going on to be a bit peculiar when entering what passes the women's fancy area, namely. Instead of the usual decor within sight, an interesting scene is now dominating the scenery instead. The walls and floors are covered by transparent plates that allows access up towards the sky as people descend from their glass elevators above all, which explains why so little decoration hereabouts despite enough lighting. You go with it. Enter sleep mode while the inner kiosk takes you places. Walking in and suddenly the place became yours? Wait, now what does this mean really? Maybe this time after so much trying everything finally is paid off? Right below you is the nearest of them. Please watch out not stepping on me at all. Yes, as expected, a whole mass of bodies inside, making sure everybody stays happy and ready to serve with that, said ladies working non-stop. Examine bodies. You examine bodies. If I recall, this one was earlier, and apparently a lot changed since then. They've arranged themselves in very pleasing positions, however, to the best of my ability, only it appeared at first much messier. But oh boy, if what happens next can possibly compare to the many times gone back here. Suddenly a noise went on high enough till it reached maximum volume and everything stopped. Let's try jumping to conclusions. Jump to the nearest conclusion. You jumped to the nearest conclusion. I'll answer if somebody asks later, since nobody knows anything about you, and the rest by now, so I wonder how much of it still qualifies. It probably might go without saying, but only true that you don't stop using any program. The one located within your own brain, having already managed to push many thoughts through. And how? What did you expect to read from those words, really? Because quite evidently what you've been after a long time doesn't exist, and it's just a big pain on most times anyway. The very main point of all efforts involved that particular one where what you had found are clearly something different compared to what goes wrong inside, at least for starters. By the way, there was much discussion over before such attempts started. Perhaps because a large group at first thought of doing the same, but ultimately refused. Why then make an effort considering some may have asked for just cause? Well, basically everyone could agree, since as well as discussed previously, the problems and issues at hand can hardly be surpassed in the meantime, and eventually it gets better more than being simply okay. But here, think about the possibilities for certain if others succeed as before, so why bother asking them specifically who comes first, of course? Nevertheless, in terms of the other reasons, I myself would love to see myself start along this path sometime too, along with a clear motive, that is. Perhaps it's some sort of strange coincidence seeing the number of possible victims has recently increased at the very first steps, though. Yes. What are the overlaps between my body and these victims' surroundings? So far, they appear mostly related, but now there is somebody I don't think I'll remember ever meet. And indeed, I don't suppose one person per every occurrence makes sense, or rather should be used strictly, or at most maybe 1,000th of the total amount, and only regarding certain age groups, but please stay focused here. Let's get back to business, huh? Ask. We're in the chaos. About its business. No, you have no choice but to do this sooner or later, seeing as all of you now together share it as in a charge individual at the end of the day. You, inside person, needs to focus on keeping everyone safe, including one specific part who sometimes, usually, serves under his or her jurisdiction to keep quiet with a hint of arrogance. I bet he has heard me refer before as the little old man, though. Cares. This particular arrangement will help in the long run to obtain all sorts of goals in full without resorting to more dramatic methods unless you feel ready for a complete change instead, am I wrong? Well, look now. This situation at the very moment looks pretty dire, especially given what's coming upon tonight, as soon as darkness falls. That's your wash. Yep. See? It was not far off since this should work perfectly. How sad. Why can't it go back like it did in the past whenever an option suddenly presented itself? But fear not, my good friends, as that last idea wasn't altogether useless. All the same, and in fact, does bring many benefits about. Like, for example, this current scenario where you find yourself right in front of me. So what? But fear not. Wait. If you need someone on the side to act out an otherwise dumbass move as a joke, perhaps, that is fair enough for now. Just wait, and if anything happens, you're able to reverse it then. But after the event, of course. You enact a dumbass move as a joke. Wait, what? My god, seriously, just come to reality right now, buddy. Actually, why even bother asking questions about such nonsense in the first place? Okay, this may not always be possible, you realize, for you know exactly what kind of condition it puts on, and okay, fine. But then stop putting those mental images there in the beginning. The hell is what going wrong anyway? You double down on the dumbass move. At least you would still gain something, although I think some people over there might regret it when seeing this unfold a little bit later. But hey, that's not your concern. So how about the other parts for real, so we may finally arrive to them? Anyways, if somebody doesn't really fit into whatever else is happening, what difference does any of that make at all, really? Yeah, okay, got it. Now back to what happened to you from earlier on today. I just read out your thoughts. Now give a brief description what went wrong originally or anything prior that could save future time. My urine. In it. And I want to know what is in it. And no machine has been honest with me. It is driving me up the wall. You mean like with previous encounters as opposed to being stuck in town and all you can think of was why did the dog just tell the chicken everything about batting an eye anyway? Still too many excuses, huh? Looked different, maybe yes, and sometimes you do run into some individuals or maybe groups where they try out quite strange things for sure, then forget the rest if something more occurs around to cover it up. Even with me here, since a former member once claimed that I have all possibilities in this line of work. As for him, I merely said I try to offer the best experience possible through a reasonable amount based on personal and collective experience that are never available again, which is how I honestly feel on the whole. That reminds, though, of one possibility, of course. The very reason he left, you figure. Examine. Please examine the reason he left. Actually, you could claim that the case made by certain enemies of mine were extremely twisted, and I guess some guys actually liked all kinds of these types too, or maybe only one was special enough for them. Either way, who knows? In any case, what's important here is that everybody knew early on those particular two would split eventually, so all of your efforts turned out pointless except for this new fact alone. Yep, that's it for now. Let go. Let God. Alright, buddy. In plain terms, I haven't the slightest idea, so shut the hell up at last. All you seem to find interesting, though, are bits of gossip anyway. For instance, some guy told somebody a little girl who likes to tease has found herself somehow lost behind a big hill somewhere of all places. No further details ever. Okay, listen. Go to Big Hill. Retrieve. That didn't happen. Okay, no problem then, really. Yes, wait for it. Perhaps she got lost within the crowd. Oh well, don't rush it now, boy. Now, since when do such questions arise as anyways? Go to Big Hill. Go to Big Hill. Retrieve little girl. Sure. If I recall correctly, she had this unusual black hair of sorts and greenish eyes. Yeah. Like your memory worked okay? Alright, time for something final. Well, first you should find a safe spot that's nearby here, but not so obvious to others. In other words, nobody paying it any extra attention that looks into a given direction without looking twice after hearing anything anyway. Yet just look about at each scene for the moment and... Where did everybody go? No kidding, how terrible. Are you sure somebody won't hit upon such a bad idea after seeing what I'm planning to show them next? Or is there some kind of a difference over a more convenient lookout for their end result now? Then that might be useful. As much work anyway this evening, huh? It appears even on the ones responsible for this incident, for better or worse, took on proper cover positions, and in complete readiness about the town center among the usual scenery to prevent accidental encounters with people along those lines, hence leaving all the usual activity where altogether different things happen elsewhere. What happened afterward remained completely unchanged apart from how fast your actions proceed. Nothing is a coincidence here in this life, buddy. Why not give this up forever from now on? That said, everything you see right about us was an act anyway when thinking about how many times any action can be executed successfully. But think of all the trouble and expenses wasted doing it again. It's also stupid to add more than enough into the job description if possible, and at a glance too. After all, this place is small enough and with no point whatsoever having a new location every time. And now, there really isn't that much of a chance for meeting anybody in particular or anything involving these so-called occurrences to begin with any more from my experience to speak of anyway. You initiate an occurrence now. Okay, well, here you go, like this, with all kinds of scenarios already planned out to varying degrees beforehand. Whenever everything remains properly hidden, nobody pays you any special sort of heed, the rest while not too long at a stretch at the outset. Maybe because you look quite scary in various aspects and overall stuff just does appear mostly normal to most folks, am I wrong? Continue with the occurrence. No sleep. So, occurrences end. Well, that has been true, though most of your entire mission, if I recall rightly, to be honest, is before this, is a lot better on both accounts, all considered, especially right in front of my own eyes and in an otherwise vacant area as well. The perfect opportunity, as it were. So, sleeping until the whole affair is finished, eh? Okay. In short thought, for certain, pay safe. So remember, for those curious, what to expect. Here would be, perhaps take note of where everyone standing and in motion now appeared originally, going by the signs around, and tell me what you discover first of all. Please, and I'll do likewise, regardless. But how else will everybody realize who to talk to after things have proceeded too far? Burn that bridge when we come to it. You burn that bridge when we come to it. Alright, now this is tricky here. So go with that then. Anyway, I'll let each one act upon their own judgment and only listen to their conversations via hidden means here after the secret part, though. However, I really feel for each of these individuals who may turn into dead bodies or some random things, following at best a bit like the case of where we are. The actual meaning I meant was that what will those creatures do afterwards, seeing the entirety of these problems? They'll figure it out when they're dead. Alright, fair enough. All the above were discussed. I get to bring up another thing, too. The idea for the aforementioned things, all in the beginning, of course. Something happened a few days ago that changed it completely, though. Not sure why I'm putting this at the same spot exactly. So where was I again, huh? Is this a thing I should give a shit about? That makes sense. It certainly gives you a very clear and solid perspective. Now then do it. Okay, fine. Just to use our new word there, your mind needs not to waste anything for the longest, as mentioned earlier, and after working on it for a while, not much longer, of course, since a week. I mean, think about how hard that must have been taken to grasp on sight, plus at least a dozen occasions being lost to start again the second time. You commence the occurrence a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth time. Okay, that sure looks pretty crazy as I recall. In fact, over what could be like 36 hours here. That said, there is nothing for certain, obviously. That came out of my head, even if somebody tries to guess the idea actually works, you know? Simply stated a possibility. But hey, with myself already telling people about what the game doesn't just suddenly pop up. But hey, with myself already telling people about it, the game just doesn't suddenly pop up. I might find whatever, but here goes. Now, once this point reached maybe 6 or 10 such repetitions, shouldn't occur as easy either, right down to other people, and indeed as much so as everything that has happened prior to them. Override the occurrences telomere to engage in infinite occurrence. Recursive occurrence. You override the occurrences telomere to engage in infinite recursive occurrence. Yeah, of course, but anyway, after a while, things become different, more at risk too. Nobody's going to miss what others might leave here in certain respects, and nobody with any decent level of responsibility either, for instance. So after I make a commitment concerning a missing person, perhaps they will take the opportunity to wipe their chin instead. Well, okay, if I do too, you'll see how these kind of actings towards my plans tend to come easier without taking many efforts into account for everyone these days. Although you guys do seem to really worry me all the same sometimes, but now that it's out of here, this matter ended as good and quick as possible. Let's move on from this place soon. So sorry to make so much fuss for almost no game to begin with, just about the damn town center to mention. Anyways, we better return back to your bedroom for some well-deserved rest. Go back to your bedroom. Go back. You go back to bedroom. You go back to rest. Yes, this little space is indeed ours forever, all at once, after all. Oh yeah. What would be the purpose behind letting those so-called enemies into the room by now? Am I supposed to think ahead or something? Not really, buddy. So enough of this shit. Stop wasting my energy here at this very moment and follow along, okay, while all eyes watching the outside are closed. Here lies my bed, if it helps anybody now. You sleep with ass up, face down, while your subconscious self gilds the lilies you collected yesterday. Yeah, I knew that one would work, but in full seriousness. Trying to get some shut-eye for a change instead, you know. Maybe just sleep. Even all that remains is the job that will proceed here right afterwards after cleaning this dirt with me, just going to make you think of it like eating when sleeping too. By the way, would you mind switching locations first? Please, though, before turning around. gotta go. This was interesting.